In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. Good afternoon, Professor. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Siham Arabi, English Literature and Human Rights, Anglo-American Literature and Creative Writing. My presentation is The Right of Oppressed Childhood in Native Son 1940 by Richard Wright. The main issue that African American children suffered from during the 20th and 21st centuries in the South of the United States of America was oppression, exercise, authority of power cruelly. All black children were deprived of their rights as human beings and grew up to realize that oppression, race, differentiation, and discrimination had existed. Besides, white parents did not allow their children to communicate with the black children. They describe a black person as a wicked persona. This pressure were done black parents. Consequently, they direct their sufferings towards their children. These problems motivated black writers to write about the case of black children. Among the writers who witnessed the experience of oppressed children, Richard Wright, Native Son. Attitude towards current life of children in the African American society caused by racial discrimination. The characters of this novel life in the similar condition of low-income families that cannot protect their children in the difficult times of the Jim Crow law. Richard Wright's personal experience of racial oppression inspires most of his work, which reflect the problems affect society, the social problems he deals with, the hatred, racial violence, crime, and oppression as a result. It is from society studies of case African American and children. In particular, the writer adopted the same position in the issue of oppressed child, and this is clear in the choice of Botograns, who is the protector of a disciplined society. The life of Richard Wright, novelist, fiction writer, essayist, dramatist, poet, and editor. He was born in September. That black babies were not given birth certificate motivated him later to explain that he had come out of nowhere. Both of his grandparents were slaves, and the family traced its roots to Mississippi. Without a degree, he did not have a college or high school degree. Literary background. Because of the limitation and suffering African Americans faced during their lives, literature became a major vehicle for expressing injustice and inequality. As it is a mirror of life, black writers conveyed their pains, opinion, and challenge through forms of the poetry, fiction, and essays. Since there are such problems in society, themes such as freedom, oppression, and racism soon became commonplace in African literature. Novelists and playwrights chose literature and their literary representation and had power result of change society of the better. Consequently, African American literature is overflowing with the incidents of oppression and reaction of their writers against the oppressions. Among the message conveyed by African American literature was opposition to break up family ties, which showed no respect for the black family unity. White have always had the right to do whatever they want, while African American can't. Native son, born black and poor, Bigger is unable to realize his fundamental right and human potential in social system that excludes him as a person and denies him the opportunities of the heritage of white American. He considers the state symbols of freedom and want desperately to be an American citizen, but knows that he cannot attain this because he is black. This society produces him bigger, criminal whose crimes astound and horrify the reader. Society is responsible for Bigger's crime because it denies him self-realization. White show that unless the black person is granted self-realization, one like Biggers will murder whites in order to obtain it. Bigger is forced to play such a role because he is a victim of his society. The story of Bigger and his two murders become the essential act of violence in the American novels. Forsyth made it clear that Bigger's race becomes almost enough to cause of his crimes. He is a black male, therefore he is murdered without native son. Wright wanted to how important violence is as a means enabling blacks to escape direction and fear, but the book also warns of the directive and potential Bigger's social condition. Now, the story of Biggers and his two murders become the essential act of violence in the African American novels. Forsyth made it clear that Bigger's race becomes almost enough to cause of his crimes. He is a black male, therefore he is murdered through the native son. Wright wanted to show how important violence is as means enabling blacks to escape degradation and fear, but the book also wants to destructive potential of Bigger's social condition. The violence within Bigger. Fear can be seen clearly in the pleasure he takes in killing the rat. Bigger finds himself in war with a black rat in the small one-room apartment she shared with his family. Here, unlock his status in the white world. He is a master of the situation. It is he who gives to himself the power of God to deal with death. Two aspects of this accident of killing the rat are of great significance. The first one is that for Bigger, fear arises, increasing aggression, and only violence can overcome this fear. Child protection of the child as human being. Children's rights are shaped by fundamental guarantees and basic human rights, children's rights, recognize the fundamental guarantees of all human beings, the right of the life, principles of non-discrimination, the protection of physical and mental integrity, and children's rights were recognized after the First World War with the adoption of the Declaration in Geneva in 1924. The process of the recognition of child's rights and the new Negro movement appeared to become the geographic center of Black American who migrate north in search of better opportunities than those they encountered in the South. African Americans were able to live fairly and have access to education in school. The creative art of the Harlem Renaissance reflects American produced by both women and men was a source of inspiration for the many future African American artists, writers, and musicians. They writers from in general Richard Rice in particular discuss issues. Minority groups are subject to oppression, especially the Black children are affected to the great extent by oppression, but the most affected victims are the latter because they have no power to defend themselves. Black children have been neglected by their parents and community as well. Had their families and communities treat them tenderly, embarrassed them, and they offered them better chances in education, their situation would have been improved. Education and the role the family are the most effective factor in the upbringing of the child. Once these factors disappear, the child will tend to become violent and as means of protections. Thank you very much.